Are you do you have, all right. I think now I was able to. All right, so I just want to say thank you guys for coming out. I know it is a Tuesday afternoon, so sometimes it could be a little bit inconvenient, but this is the best time that worked for our alumni. And we just want to say thank you very much, Armonté and Ahnyah, for making it out. Originally, we had four alumni that wanted to serve on the panel, but unfortunately, two of them couldn't because they had something popped up, and it was kind of a last minute thing that popped up. So we completely understand that. So I guess I could just start off by saying introducing myself. So some of you guys, some of the scholars previously, some of you guys may know who I am because we did host a little event last month. But my name is José Sanchez. I am a summer intern here at ScholarCHIPS, specifically logistics and alumni intern. And I've been here for 3 months. Yasmin took me on in June, and we've been just working on a lot. I've been working a lot with Yasmin, and we've been coordinating a few events, and we've been in the talks about hosting a social event for current scholars to get to know one another. I would say that was pretty successful. We did that last month. And now this month, specifically, what we wanted to do is we wanted to host a little alumni panel, specifically just for alumni to come and speak to current scholars just about the overall college process, and if there's any tips and advice they can give to current scholars about professional development after college, as well as just any insight that they can provide about scholarships in general would be greatly appreciated. So just a little bit about myself is I am going to be a current junior next week, specifically at Georgetown University. I am from Inglewood, California, so sorry, alumni, if I was reaching out to you a little bit later in the day, but that's because I was 3 hours behind. I'm majoring in economics, potential minor in I don't know yet. But yeah, I would say that's a little bit about myself. If Armonte and Anaya, you guys don't mind introducing yourselves, I guess that's the first question that I would start off is like, can you introduce yourself? Like, what college you went to, what's your hometown, what you're currently doing, and like, what was your major in college? Either one of you guys could go.
Okay, I'll go. My name is Ahnyah Phillips. I am an alumna of Clark Atlanta University. I graduated May 2020 with my degree in chemistry and a minor in mathematics. I'm currently a medical assistant in Bethesda, Maryland for a private practicing OBGYN office, actually at Georgetown University for a pre-med program, and then hopefully starting medical school after that.
All right, thank you very much for that, Monte. If you don't mind giving us a brief background.
Awesome, cool. So I'm Armonté Butler. I use he, him, and his pronouns. I am the senior program manager of a nonprofit based in DC called Advocates for Youth. I graduated from college in 2017 from Sewanee, the University of the South, based in Sewanee, Tennessee, the middle of nowhere. I'm born and raised DC. And I am currently just recently started also grad school, so a Master of Public Health program at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore.
All right, well, thank you guys very much for introducing yourself. I think it's gonna help a lot for the alumni per se. I know it's not a bunch of us, but I think it's gonna be a very meaningful event, a little bit more personal, and a lot of alumni or a lot of people probably couldn't make it out, but it's completely understandable. So I just want to say that interesting about that. Another question that I would say, so I'm gonna just throw out like a list of questions just to like see overall experiences. Alumni, I mean alumni, scholars. If you guys have any question, I know Christian or Althea, you guys could just bump right in or ask right after I'm done, or just let me know. I greatly appreciate it. I just want to let you guys know that process, and if you guys can just do that. So for both of you guys, I would say what would you say was your biggest hardship during your time in college? It could be either financial, personal, emotional, and how did you overcome it? I think for a lot of us, me specifically, I know I'm still in college, and I know Christian and Althea are still in college, so we still have our doubts and we still have our hardships that we go through. I know I have my own personals. If you guys don't mind opening up about that, you don't have to get too personal if you don't want to, but if you do, then that'll be great as well. But either you guys can go.
Um, so I guess I would say Hardships for myself in college wasn't really financially. It was more so mentally, like pushing through my schoolwork and like, you know what I'm saying, having enough discipline to know when it's time to study and when it's time to play. I would say the most challenging year for myself in undergrad was junior year. I was taking a graduate course at Morehouse School of Medicine, and and I was, you know, president for my sorority, Alpha Pi chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And it was just a lot of stress. And I was to the point where I just really, really just wanted to give up. Like I just couldn't do it anymore. But, you know, nonetheless, I pushed my friends, my sisters, and decided the program wasn't for me. So that was probably the hardest part of undergrad for myself, was really pushing through that course, but, you know, making it to the other side and finishing, you know, it just told, sorry, I'm getting all jumbled up. You know, I just realized I can really just do anything I really put my mind to. And, you know, my goals still haven't changed. I still want to be a doctor. I still plan to go to medical school. But without that really challenging part of college, I really don't, you know if I would have been able to learn how to really manage my time how I did that semester. I had to really prioritize. So that's it for me.
Awesome. And I think, you know, similar to that, I think for me, it was finances, right? So it was like, where is the money? I had gotten this like posse scholarship, which covered tuition, but there were still like all these other things I had to pay for. Scholarships really helped me pay for stuff. Like there was just money I was sent to buy books, which was really helpful. But I think my thing was, it was really finances. And then I think just like stuff around mental health, right? So like my father was like incarcerated. So it was like, oh, I have work study, but I'm like helping pay commissary and helping pay all this other things. So I think that always came up as like, I don't know. And I never really think about, I think, you know, the identities of stigma and having a father who was incarcerated. And I only realized that when there was like some session on campus where they were talking about students and unique identities, and they were like, if you have a parent that's incarcerated, like go to this circle. And it was like me and 4 other people. And we had like never like had, you know, I think all of us were all unpacking like what that meant for us to be in this group. But I think also like what it was for us to see like, oh, we didn't expect this person to be in the group, or people didn't expect me to be in the group. So really just unpacking that. But I think that what was helpful from that kind of like session was that we were able to build a group. So it was really kind of like really this bonding or mentorship thing that we came together with. And it wasn't just this like, I don't know, super secret thing after we all kind of bonded.
Yeah, no, and I think both of you guys, I think what you guys are saying is, I think what a lot of students go through. I know, like you were saying, Armonté, I think the special thing about and the unique factor about scholarships is, you know, the scholars are children or are related to people of incarcerated individuals or guardians. And I think that's kind of the unique thing, because I still tell this to Yasmin. I was like, I had never heard of that a scholarship organization that does that specifically for students of, you know, of that mission or of that thing going. So I think in college, when you get to college, it's kind of like, whoa, like it's kind of like you learn in a way, you kind of learn something about yourself, because you kind of, at least for me, well, I'm not the child, or I'm the child of incarcerated parents, but I'm kind of have a similar background to a lot of scholars, where I'm a first gen. I grew up in very much so what we call the hood and stuff like that. So I know what it is to kind of navigate life in a different manner. So I think when I first arrived to college, it was kind of like, whoa, like it was kind of mind boggling, because you think you're going to meet people of different or of the same background of you, or at least to some extent. And then you kind of learn some things about yourself, and you think, well, the background I come from, it's pretty normal. And then when you get to college, it's kind of like, whoa, like I guess we come from totally different backgrounds. But I think, yeah, that's something, Armonté, that it's very, very much true. Like you're always learning stuff about yourself, and that's something that to this day I still always learned about myself. But I guess another question that I have for you guys would be, as you know, the audience consists of current scholars in their undergraduate studies. And this is like a question I always like to ask, because I like to see scholars, alumni's perspective. Is like, if you can go back in time to when you were in college, specifically undergraduate, what is one piece of advice you would give yourself?
So I would say, seek out mentorship. I think that what really helped me in college was like going to, office hours, going to professors that I knew that, if I couldn't turn in an assignment, I would talk to them and they would understand why. But I think, the biggest thing is mentorship. I think that is one of the things that kept me in school when I was in doubt, like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. Why am I in rural Tennessee? It was really that reaching out to friends and mentors to figure out how we can support each other.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so essentially it's like if you were to give yourself, if you can go back in time, what's like one piece of advice you would give yourself, like an undergrad?
So I guess I'm really a perfectionist, and I guess I would just tell myself it's okay to, kind of make mistakes, and you learn from those mistakes, really. I would also tell myself to kind of get out there more and speak to more people because I'm really an introvert. So that's probably about it.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, and I mean, I completely hear you out. I think, like, yeah, mentorship, I want to say, is a really good one. I think when you're able to really connect with people and able to be under the wing of somebody that's already been through the ropes a little bit, they can guide you to many different things and many different adventures and avenues. And I think, yeah, I would say, even though me, like, I'm going to be a junior, I would think the number one thing I would probably tell myself is like the transition wasn't easy. That transition from high school to college, I think, was one, especially for me, it was a little bit difficult for me because like we go from high school where we're in school from like 8 to 2 or 8 to 3, and it's kind of like it's a continuous schedule. It's a very, very structured schedule. From this time to this time, I go to this class, have lunch, and what that case may be. And then when you go to college, it's kind of like the schedule's all on your own. You choose your classes. You can either choose classes on this day if you want to, or if this class if you want to. So I think just being very, very responsible and kind of having a lot of things on your own plate now, it's kind of like, whoa, like it's kind of mind boggling. And to think about it, I would say that transition wasn't easy. And I think which ties back into Armonté's point where like if you can seek out mentorship, do so. It doesn't really have to be a formal mentorship if you don't want to. It can also just be like just a friend or somebody that's upperclassman that can kind of show you the way around, because I think that's very, very crucial. I know I did have a person like that when I was a freshman, and they were really, really helpful towards me. So, thank you guys both for just providing feedback on that. Another question I would say, if so as many, including myself, our backgrounds are very diverse compared to the students we go to school with. Was it difficult for you to make friends? And if so, how did you make friends? And I think this was probably one of my favorite questions because, like I said, scholarships has a very, very unique mission in terms of providing scholarships to students of incarcerated individuals. And I think was, how did you guys go about making friends? Or was it more so, people came to you, or were you more the person that seeked out friends, or how was it?
So for myself, making friends, I kind of found myself migrating towards people who had the same goals as me in the end. Like most of my friends now are in medical school or doing research or, you know what I'm saying, just working towards becoming a physician. So I met a lot of my friends at Morehouse School of Medicine. We were in a medical academy together. And I also met friends through my sorority. Um, Outside of those two organizations, however, I did find it difficult for myself to make friends just because of my personal situation. I went to an HBCU. I was a part of an organization that many people wanted to be a part of. So, although a lot of people knew me and wanted to, get to know me, I kind of felt like it wasn't genuine because they wanted to know me because they wanted to be a part of an organization. And I didn't start making friends until later in college, like my senior year, junior year, I would say. Um, but moral of the story is that I met friends that were basically had the same goals as me, and we were all trying to get to the same place, and we had one specific outcome, which is to be in medicine. And I think that helped me a lot in college. We always, studied together, prepared for tests, helped each other, tutored each other, stuff like that. So I kind of connected with some of the nerds.
No, thank you for that very much. Armonté, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think for me, it was, participating in organizations. So we had this group called OLA, which is the Hispanic Organization for Latino Awareness. We had the African American Alliance. I'm Black and Latino, so I was like, okay, I got to do both. But yeah, it was really participating in kind of like the cultural groups on campus. And I think also figuring out, what other student organizations were you passionate about? So like I was thinking about going to law school and passionate about policy. So I randomly ran for honor council and was like, okay, let me figure out how that works. Did not like it so much. We were sending students home. So I was like, this is not for me. But it was a great way to meet other people and kind of like experience, another side of campus that I probably wouldn't have if I wasn't interested in, law for the time being. So I think figure out stuff. It's okay to, and I feel like things are virtual. So it's probably harder now balancing school and what that looks like. But I think still reaching out to folks of when are the meetups? When are opportunities to meet people? I think it's one of those things too, of just remaining humble, right? I think people come to campus and some people are like, I am it, I am that. And you find out very quickly that that's not the case. There is somebody who's, daughter, cousin that went to the school and probably has, more of a legacy background. So you're navigating all these different types of people. So yeah.
Yeah, I think, I think that's kind of an understatement right there where people, I think being humble is probably a very, very crucial part of it. I've noticed that a lot, especially where people, kind of go to college and, they think they're on top of the world and, they're like the next big thing, and nothing wrong with being confident about yourself. I'm a big advocate of being confident about yourself, but I think there's a crucial line where, there's comes a line between cockiness and confidence. And I think being humble just gets you so much farther. Because I think I respect the individual more who doesn't know something and asks for help than the individual who acts like he knows something. Just because then you can know what their priorities are and what specifically, they can, how to better themselves. But I think, yeah, overall organizations, that's that's kind of the common trend that I noticed was organization plays a really, really big part of social culture on campus, where I felt like my first year, I didn't have many friends that I was able to relate to, but it wasn't until I got into those clubs and into the organizations and I got my foot in the door that I really started connecting with individuals. And I think that's really, really a big part of college campus is really organizations. And it doesn't have to be organization where you guys have to it's all professional development and stuff like that. It could just be something you're passionate about, like Armonté said, and whatnot. And, just be there because you want to be there. I think that's something that's very, very crucial. But thank you guys for that as well. I'm sorry if if I have a lot of questions. It's just I'm curious about you guys' perspective about college and whatnot. I guess this is kind of similar to nah, it's kind of asked that question already. I guess this is a little bit to the question that I wanted to ask is specifically, how has scholarships helped assist you in your undergraduate career and your current professional career? I think that's a question. That's a really good question.
Yeah, so I've said it before. I feel like I say this all the time. Scholarships didn't only help me financially. It was the calls, the letters, the care packages throughout the semester. ScholarCHIPS cares about their students, and they always made sure that we knew that they were there in our corner no matter what. I still have a letter from Yasmin when I was in my junior year, struggling in that class. She was telling me, push through, it's going to be okay, you're going to make it. And it was just scholarships being there mentally for me. Forget the money, even though the money is helpful and I did appreciate it. They were there mentally, and we got calls throughout the semester and they weren't even calling to only check on you. They were asking about our family members who are incarcerated. So for me, my father is also incarcerated, asking how often do you speak to him and when do you go see him? And me and my father are very close. So I speak to him probably every single week, and I saw him as often as I could. So scholarships is just all in all 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I would say the same. I think like thinking back, and I'm still like always looking back and reflecting, right? But I think, it was like the helpful money. So, buying books and things like that. But I think it was also one of the few scholarships that I had gotten, because I feel like there are scholarships that I had gotten. It's like, here you go, here's the money, good luck. See you soon. But scholarships was the one that was like, no, we care. Like, what are you up to? Fill out this survey. Let us know where you're at, how we can support. And I think it was, the personal letters that I had gotten, and the care packages. It was one of the few scholarships that I had gotten. And I think the only, probably, let me be honest, where folks were like, we care. Like, we know there's a human at this school working. And I was always reminded that this isn't a scholarship where I used to think like people are in big offices doing stuff and just sending out money. But it was one of the scholarship programs that I was like, wow, like this program really cares about the people it's supporting.
Yeah, no, and I think that's something I try to tell you, as like as much as I think I possibly can, is like there's kind of like a family community sense right here when you're joining scholarships. I think, I've seen a lot of students, a lot of friends of mine, and me included, we've gotten scholarships where specifically it's like, all right, here's the money, need it, use it for whatever you need it for, and that's pretty much it. If you need like usually they either give it to you one all at once or they break it up, but it's not very, you really don't interact much with the people there. It's kind of like the money's good, but what if I need something else, right? Like, what if I need support in another aspect of college? And I think from what I could tell, and just being a part of scholarships for 3 months now, I'm able to see that scholarships does go above and beyond to really help students in their current college and even alumni to some extent. And then I've been a part of those organizations where they serve an active role throughout all your 4 years of college. It's not just a one and done. It's more of like, we're gonna be there for all 4 years of college and potentially for the rest of your life, if you want to be part of the organization still. And I think that's something that I've always truly admired about scholarships. And I mean, hearing it from alumni who graduated a few years ago, I mean, it's really reassuring to the organization itself. So I just want to thank you guys very much for that. um Another question that I have is, who or what inspired you to pursue like your career? That can be where you're at right now or where you want to go on later in the future. And how did that person specifically inspire you, or how did that thing inspire you? I guess if you guys need some time to process that one, I can kind of probably start off on that one, because I kind of have like an answer to that one. So I've kind of mentioned this in these meetings before, is like I want to become a lawyer down the road. So I have like 2 years left of undergrad and then 3 years left of law school after that. But what specifically I think inspired me to become a lawyer, or what who were who the person was kind of a mixed bag of two things. One, I would say typical kid thing where you see a TV show or you see a movie that you liked and the person plays that or has that profession that you want. For me, it was To Kill a Mockingbird. So it is an older movie, but I think Atticus Finch was, while he is controversial at times, I think there's certain things that he does that I like, and there's certain things that I don't agree with necessarily, but I think overall the book itself was a pretty good book, and Atticus Finch was like a decent lawyer. So that's kind of what inspired me. That was one part of it, and then a second part of it was, when I was older. So To Kill a Mockingbird was when I was younger, but when I was older, I think it was like 19 at the time, so a year ago. It was a specific individual that I met at Georgetown, and he was kind of like my role model, where the life that he had lived, or his accomplishments leading up to his current life, um, were something that I was very, very inspired about. So he was a first generation college student as well. He ended up going to Georgetown as well. He went to law school. After law school, he ended up getting like a big firm job. And now he's like a really, really big thing at that firm. So his life story, I mean, it's a little bit more into detail. But his life story essentially was what inspired me as well. So those were kind of a mixed things of what inspired me to be a lawyer. I guess if that's of any help to you guys, if you guys don't mind answering the question. If not, it's fine.
Yeah, I would say for me, well, you can go.
So what really inspired me to become an obstetrician? Um, oh, sorry. um, so I kind of grew up watching a lot of shows that had to deal with doctors. So it's just like called Bringing Home Baby or Bringing Home Multiples. And I was just very intrigued by it. And Christian, other than that, I was really good at science. I was really good at math. I did a few internships abroad in Portugal. I was shadowing doctors in for the OBGYN department for a week and just being with them in the hospital, seeing everything so hands-on and, you know, not through a TV screen, just really confirmed for myself that that was the field that I wanted to go into. And I guess I've been an inspiration to myself, just really, you know, overcoming a lot of things and throughout childhood, a lot of battles. I'm also the oldest sibling, so you know I know that I really set the example and I set the tone for my siblings. So I just kind of have to keep going and you know follow my dreams.
I think for me, it would be um, a few people, but I can imagine like one of them was my like college advisor. I was always trying to do a bunch of classes and take a bunch of stuff because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And she was just very like, do it. Like, you know, if you want to do global studies, which I did, I focused on Latin America, which was fun. And then I did gender studies and I focused on social movements, and that was fun too. But she had always made what seemed like a joke or like dreams a reality for me through coursework. And even with jobs, like she was like, there is a career in activism, there is a career in advocacy. And nobody was telling me that. Like my even family was like, where are you trying to work? You're trying to work at, you know, the store down the street with the degree. Like, what are you really trying to do with the money that we're paying? Which is like a difficult conversation to have with parents who are paying money and they're like, you're studying what? um, so I think, you know, Paige was really helpful. That's her name, Paige Snyder, was really helpful in bridging the gap with my family not understanding what I was trying to study, and really just telling me like pursue a career in this. There is a job after, which was really helpful in a climate where, you know, students were studying a lot of stuff, but most people that I knew were pre-med, pre-law, and business. So it's just kind of like, okay, here I am trying to make a path, which seemed like I could, but it worked out.
I mean, no, that's very inspiring. I think it's always helpful and great when somebody can support you and somebody can advocate for you and let you know that there is a career path and the thing that you want to pursue. So I mean, it definitely sounds like your academic counselor was a great one. Um, but no, yeah, thank you guys very much for that input on that. I think another question that I have is you guys kind of answered this already, but if you guys can go into more detail into it, did you guys do an internship in college and would you recommend it? I know a lot of people, I guess, internships are a really, really big thing in college. Summer internships and just getting that experience on your resume, adding it itself is really great. But I think some people as well try to shy away from it because there's kind of this culture where it's like everybody's trying to get one, and then there comes a time when like you essentially kind of run out of time and you don't know what to do for a summer or you don't know what to do. So I know people that either really, really encourage an internship, or I know people who really don't encourage it and instead say, take a summer course or take a class for credit, or do something else. Because there is kind of this culture around, just pressuring the norm of getting an internship and doing, X, Y, and Z. If you guys don't mind providing your thoughts on that and your input, as you guys have already, graduated from college and been through the process in itself.
So I'll speak on that. I did do internships in college every single summer. Sometimes I did multiple. I think that, you know, taking a summer course or trying to catch up, you know, graduate faster is great and all, but nothing really compares compares to an experience. Because what if you did all your summer class, or you took courses all summer, and yes, I'm going to graduate early, and boom, you get into the field and it's not what you want to do, you know. You could have had an internship and got some exposure and got your feet wet a little bit to really, you know what I'm saying, narrow it down. So at Chapel Hill with the Department of Pharmacology. Following that, Stanford, that same summer, I did more research in Seattle. And here at college, I traveled abroad to Portugal and to China and just did some work with, you know, my school. And then that was also the internship where I was shadowing. So, and internships look so good on your resume when you're applying, and you meet so many people outside of just your university or only your advisors. You'll have different connections, you know what I'm saying? Different people to write letters of recommendation, different people to get advice from, you know? So I 110% support internships over a summer class. That's just me personally. If you want to graduate fast, you know what I'm saying, get it over with, go ahead and take the summer class. I took a summer class just one summer and I hated it, but internships were definitely worth it. I even still talk to some of my mentors from some of my internships, and I got some people to write letters of recommendation for me. And then a lot of times when you're trying to get to a professional school, the schools will ask you about your experiences at specific internships, or what have you done to know that you're so sure that you want to, you know, be here or do this. So I think internships are very important. Like, you should definitely set a goal for yourself to even do one internship if you can before you graduate.
Yeah, I would echo all of that. Internships are important. I feel like I was always thinking about doing a summer course, but then I realized that cost, and the school wasn't trying to cover some of that, so it's like out of pocket. But I would say, you know, internships are helpful. I would like argue that internships are the way that I got my job now. It's the way that I got my first job. I think immediately after graduating from college, like everyone, I was looking for jobs, scrambling for jobs, trying to connect, network, talk to everybody and their mom. And, you know, people had told me in the beginning of the year in December, like, you're looking for jobs, but also look for an internship because you might land a job with that company or organization after. And that was very, very helpful. I think that from that, I had gotten, you know, I had done one internship at an organization in Atlanta doing like reproductive justice work, a bunch of, you know, health access work with young people. And then I did, in 2017, right after college, I did an internship at the CDC. So I was doing a lot of public health stuff, but that was literally the reason why I got the first job I got after college. Like, they were like, oh yeah, like there were a bunch of people, but you had this, you know, public health internship. And we just knew that, you know, you might have experience if you got that. So I always say, like, try to do internships. If folks need help finding them, I'm happy to connect and like work with you to identify whatever your interests are, folks are interested, but I think internships are the way to go.
Oh yeah, and I think I'm an advocate of what you guys are saying as well. I think internships really do provide meaningful experience, and I think Armonté, you brought up a really funny point where if you do take a summer course, some colleges and your university probably won't cover it. It depends really on the university itself, but um, more than anything, you probably won't get covered the whole thing. So it kind of does get a little bit controversial there. But I think, yeah, internships really helpful in terms of where you want to go in life, meeting people. Um, you add that to your resume. You have a point person where if you need a letter of recommendation, you have it. I think it just really sets you up professional wise. It really develops you up professionally where, you know, you kind of, if you get with an internship, you kind of get started on career like things earlier. So for example, like you potentially may start like a cover letter if you're applying for an internship. You may really go into detail into your resume when you're starting an internship. Letters of recommendation. So you kind of are preparing yourself with an internship for future for down the road. Stuff where you don't have to start a cover letter from scratch once you graduate college, or you don't have to, you know, redo your resume when you graduate college. It's just like minor tweaks here and there. But I think, yeah, that was very insightful, guys, and really do appreciate that. Um, this is kind of more of a social question, I guess. What was your favorite and least favorite thing about college?
I would say it's kind of hard.
I guess I could probably answer that, Anaya, and if like something pops up like right after, you can go for it. Um, I would say my favorite thing about college is probably the independence that you have. Um, a lot of what comes. I feel like our parents do a lot of the things for us when we're younger. And then once you hit college, you're kind of you're not on your own, but you have a little bit more responsibility than as opposed to like, prior to that. My least favorite thing about college would probably be, dang, that's a hard one. Probably for me, I think it depends on the context, but for me, I think it would be the distance. I think so. I'm based out of LA, and I go to school in Washington D.C. So it's like over 2,000 miles. So I think the least favorite thing about me is like, I think like all of us, we tend to see our loved ones and our family members and our friends, where we grew up like probably every day or every other day. Um, and the distance for me wasn't a big help. So that was probably my favorite thing and least favorite thing. And I saw Naya got cut off from the Zoom call. So if Armonté, you don't mind answering, no pressure though.
Yeah, I think my favorite part was, I think, meeting people, right? So I met people from all over. Born and raised DC, so as you can imagine, like most of the people I knew before were born and raised DC or around DC. And I got to meet people from all over, international students too. And I would say the part that I really didn't like was just, I think in college you realize like the privilege you have of being in college, but also what that privilege means, right? So like I was on campus and people say all the time, like my mom, like, oh, you study, you got 2 degrees, like, you did good. And it's like, yeah, I was literally just doing that, right? Like I didn't have children, I didn't have all these other things. So it really made me like unpack, the role of parents and the role of people just navigating the world, and how like college is such a privilege to literally just be there and study, go out and hang out, and like you don't have that right after. Like, no, you want to go out, you got to pay for it, right? Like, you want to do this, you got to like think about it. But college was really just a place where you are literally just there to read some books, go to some classes, and engage how you feel. So it was really just like looking at the like world and what that means in terms of like who has access, privilege, and like power and resources. Um,
No, yeah, I think I really like your answer where I think sometimes us as college students, like it is, no, I think it very much so is a privilege to go to college. I think if you look at people from other countries, or if you even look at people from your own neighborhood, you may notice some individuals did not go to college, or some people barely graduated high school. So I think when you go to college, it is a privilege in itself, and you should be aware of that. And I think, yeah, like if we really do think about it, it's just you literally are there just to learn. Go, like you said, go to a few classes, eat dining hall food, write a couple papers, do a couple tests, and it's like you get a grade for it at the end of the semester or the end of the quarter. And I think that in itself is like, once you graduate, it's like that's not the same anymore. Like once you graduate, you're technically in the adult world. Technically speaking, like now you have to pay for everything. You're not gonna get any form of financial aid no more. So now everything's gonna cost money out of your pocket. So I think, yeah, Monte, what you're saying was very, very true. And I think I really like that, simplification that you made about college. Anaya said she had to hop off really quickly, but she'll be back. So I only have a couple questions left. So this is a little bit more of professional development. So if you don't mind answering it, it's like, what would you look for if you were in the position to hire new graduates from like wherever you're at right now? Like if your supervisor is like, hey, Armonte, we want you to designate to interview and hire the next class of people that want to work here. What specifically would you look for in that individual?
yeah, that's a good question. I would say I'm just thinking like we were just hiring people too. And what we were looking for, I think
Yeah.
for me, it's just like skills, right? Like what skills do people have? So skills in writing, right? Skills in sending emails. Because the way some people send emails are like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't know who you're sending this to or who you meant to send this to, but that is not how you send the email. What else? But yeah, I think skills, right? So like writing, I would say the ability to, use kind of like Google Apps, right? So are you skilled in using Microsoft Word, Excel, just some of those basic things to understand how to like manage or work with the project. And I feel like college does that a little bit, but there could be more of a like, here's how to navigate school better.
No, yeah, I think that's very, very true. Ahnyah, so if you don't mind answering the question, I know you had to hop off quickly, but that's completely fine. The question I had asked Armonté was like, if like wherever you're at right now in your career, like if your supervisor or if somebody were to come up to you and say, "Hey, Ahnyah, like we want you to interview and hire the next class of members that want to work here," what were some of the skills and some of the things that you would look for in a candidate?
And a candidate that wants to work at my current job.
Yeah.
I guess just really not even having a certain skill level, just the ability and willingness to be teachable and able to learn, really. Somebody who's obviously passionate about being in healthcare. I like people who are not stagnant, always moving and trying to find a way to advance or get better. I like people who ask a lot of questions because it makes you seem, in an interview, it makes you seem like you're really interested in the position as well. So I guess just, this is kind of moving off the topic, but in general, if you were ever interviewing, or if I was ever interviewing somebody, I would always expect for them to come with questions to me. Because if I'm just asking you questions and you're like, "Oh, I don't have any questions," I'm like, okay, it doesn't seem like you're that interested. So just being teachable, really being teachable and, willing to learn.
No, and I think that's very, very true because, like, well, I don't have a career yet, or I'm not the position you guys are in, but I think just I've been through a couple interviews, and I think that's very, very much like it's not emphasized enough where you guys should go with questions. It's kind of like, wait, and in retrospect, it's kind of weird because like you're being interviewed and you're probably in your head like, why am I gonna ask them questions, right? But one of two things is like, one, you want to show that you're really interested in the position and really highlight that the organization. And two is like out of curiosity, like, what does the position look like? It doesn't really have to be technical. It doesn't even have to be a technical question like, oh, how do I do this specifically? And just be like, oh, like, what is it specifically you may look in a candidate, or what specifically does the position like, emphasize in work? Stuff like that. I think questions are really, really crucial. I personally try to go with at least 3 questions, not more, not less. And I try to make them really quick questions, just because I know recruiters are looking for that and people are looking for that, and it's always just good to ask questions and take questions in mind. So thank you very much for that. So I only have a couple questions left. All right, so you guys kind of touched on this. How did your experience at your university or at your institution help you find your first position job after graduation? So I know there's kind of this like culture where people graduate from college and it's kind of like, well, where do I go from here? I have to go scour and find a job, or specifically, find that first job. That's always the big thing. How did your university, or how did your experience at your university help you find your first job after college? I know for some of you guys, it was like an internship, or just wondering, what was your overall experience with that?
So I would say finding a job after undergrad, I wouldn't say my university really helped me. I didn't really go to them specifically to find a job. I kind of found my job on my own. It was just kind of weird. I don't know, because I ended school when the pandemic was starting. So it was just kind of a like, am I going to go to school? Am I going to start working? I was at home, so I didn't really have access to campus and teachers and advisors how it was before. So I would say that I just applied to a job and ended up getting it. It was just weird because of, when COVID started. I didn't really have the same guidance and access to people how I did before. So that's that.
Yeah, I think for me, So I was looking for jobs my whole time, right? Senior year, I graduated in 2017. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna apply to everything that I want to do. I was pretty stubborn, right? Like I knew I wanted to work at some social health advocacy nonprofit thing. Like I was very specific, like I'm only applying to these orgs, like that's what I want. But the internship, like I said, had really helped me figure out from other people that were part of the public health program, what other organizations I could work at or apply to. And I was literally, I think that I applied to be honest and transparent, even over the summer, I think like 35 jobs, right? Like I had applied to a lot of positions. I was like, this is where I want to go, cover letters, resumes. And some of them responded, some of them didn't. But with the org that was my first job, like they were very set on like, we called you because of the internship that you had doing public health work for the government. So yeah, I just literally was just really cold calls, cold applying to a bunch of things.
No, yeah, and I completely I see what you did there, and I think yeah, like cold calling, just applying, like yeah, like I think it's kind of a numbers game at that, where if you apply to 30, 40, maybe even 50 jobs, your chances are a little bit better just because you apply to that many positions, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee you a position. But I think that's one way you can go about it. I know I've done that as well, or in other ways, just based off your network, the people and specifically how do you go about that. But I guess one final question I have all for you guys, um and would be like, so as we've been living in the pandemic, things are kind of starting to go back to normalcy, but not really. There's still some concern. And I guess I know of networking and stuff like that, it's very, very much so in person. But people have been adapting to, virtually, to doing virtual networking events and stuff like that. It's like, I guess, how would you guys, or what have you guys seen that's successful for like current individuals? How would they network, or how would they, do the traditional stuff like applying to jobs and stuff like that in a virtual setting? So I know applying to jobs, a lot of it is networking and who and recruiting and stuff like that. Is like, I guess, is how do you bring that unique factor to a virtual setting? Because like it's easy to bring it in an in-person setting because you have that face-to-face interaction, but like in a virtual setting, it kind of doesn't feel as personal because everybody's on a Zoom call and whatnot, so you really don't shine out as much. So I guess, is what's one piece of advice, if you guys, no pressure, if you guys have any, to like really stand out in a virtual setting?
I would say, just working on your email. So like making sure your email signature has your information. It could be the school you attend. Also having a personal email that isn't like, I don't know, I've seen some people's emails where I'm like, oh, this needs to be like your first name and last name, and that's it. So it's just like thinking about that, like email etiquette, like proper emails, like my go-to email is my first name and last name at Gmail. But I would also say, getting more into the networking space. So like having a LinkedIn account is really helpful. I think that's one of the biggest things. And my school always talked about it. They were always like, you need a LinkedIn by your sophomore year. Like if you don't have a LinkedIn, then you aren't trying to get a job. You aren't trying to reach out to people. But that has been a very helpful platform for folks to identify people in their networks, expand their networks, etc.
I really don't know how to answer the question. Yeah, maybe. Wait, can you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, so essentially what I asked is like, how like finding a job, a lot of it is like through recruitment and through, networking. And I feel like a lot of
Yeah.
networking is face to face, and it's a little bit more personal. But since we've been living in a pandemic, all that has gone to virtual. So I was just wondering, like, how would you specifically, or what would be one piece of advice that you would give like a person to really shine out, to really give them that that
I
factor to a recruiter?
personally, if I was trying to shine out to a recruiter, I would just continuously reach out to the recruiter or whoever I'm in communication with. Like, hey, I'm still really interested in this position, or I'm not, just continuously following up. I'm that type of person. And I just really want to let the school know or the company know, like, I want to be here. I want to do this. So just, being confident and reaching out and following up, and not every day, maybe a week or so. That's what I would do.
Yeah, no, I think I take I take your approach very, very concerned, and I think that's because of just overall, I think I've seen success in that, and I think just having a continuous relationship really, really does help. Um, and overall, I think one thing that isn't addressed a lot, and I think really does help, is always sending like a thank you email or a thank you like note just to the overall recruiter, letting you know you really do appreciate their time and whatnot. I think it really does go a really, really long way. And it's kind of expected in a way, and they kind of respect you a little bit more for that. But that's one thing that I always personally like to do, just so they can remember me, or have that one factor that stands out. But yeah, I think overall, that was pretty much all the questions that I had for the whole panel. Um, and yeah, I just want to say once again, Armonté and Ahnyah, thank you very much for coming out and talking to us. It really is appreciated, and your time is really, really appreciated. I know I did go a little bit over time, but I want to make sure everybody else was able to see and answer every single question. And if any scholar has any question to any of the alumni, feel free to ask. This time is yours.
So, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt with the whole panel, but more specifically, since I graduated right in the middle of the pandemic, I really did have like that whole transition between high school to college more pressurized, I guess, in a sense. So, how would you guys say helped you specifically getting through that transition and still being in a pandemic and still continuing like my college career? Sorry if that was a loaded question.
Yeah, I would say, with all that, reach out to folks, right? So like you have a network, this can be a network for you. Identifying folks in your community that might help you keep going, but also in like school and stuff. Like I think whenever I'm dealing with something or stressed out or having a problem, even if it's at work or school or life, I'm like, I'm not the only person dealing with this, right? So I think the best thing is either to seek out like mental health resources, et cetera, but also remember that you're not alone in this. There are other people just like you who are dealing with the same thing, especially, this kind of like leaving high school, going to college, like in a pandemic, like you are one of probably a billion people, right? So just identifying with other folks too, like how are y'all thriving? What are y'all doing? What is bringing people joy, right? I think asking folks like, what is bringing you joy? But yeah, I think networking with people to ensure that you're not just like, it's just me dealing with this issue or living at these different intersections in your life.
Thank you. Also, weird side question. Because it is the pandemic, how would you all go about getting internships now?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think that, they're still available. I can plug in like another link for where, but I think that what I've seen through my job, through like other nonprofits, is that folks are still hiring interns. They're just virtual. Like we are literally bringing somebody on and maybe meeting them in the office because they're at go to school in Maryland. But for the past, I think 2 years, we've had just like virtual interns and, same work, same expectations. But yeah, I think it's still an opportunity, right? So like, it doesn't have to be in person, but there's still plenty of things people can do in the virtual space, even probably better or have more time to do now that you don't have to commute to the office or go there.
Yeah, I think I could as well add in input to that. I mean, essentially, my whole internship with scholarships was virtual. I mean, no, all of it was virtual specifically, and I think, companies are still, recruiting, and they're adapting themselves to this virtual environment. So I know for like a quick minute they put a pause on recruiting and stuff like that, but I felt like that was more so last year. And now this year, it's more so they're adapting themselves to a virtual environment and whatnot. Like I've this whole internship process with scholarships has all been virtual with me. I'm just overall coordinating stuff with Yasmin via text or stuff like that. But overall, I feel like internships are out there. It's just kind of hard to sometimes find them, or find specifically where you can get one. I think that just comes down to just doing a bunch of research about where you can find one, or really just plugging in with your network. Sometimes you may not even know it, but sometimes one of your friends may open a door for you that you may not know. So I think that's kind of my 2 cents about it.
Thank you.
Well, I think Ahnyah had to hop off, but if Christian or Althea, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to let Armonté know. If you guys do not, I do not want to keep you guys any longer. So I want to say once again, thank you very much to Armonté and Ahnyah. And I know Ahnyah had to hop off really quickly. But thank you very much for this hour-long sit down and conversation overall. I know it wasn't a bunch of us, but it was a little bit more personal, and hopefully I was able to record it. So hopefully, scholars will be able to see this conversation down the road. I just want to say once again, thank you very much for showing out, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you all so much. Armonté, if you ever want to be a mentor, we'd love to have you.
No, sign me up. I need to do everything I can for what you all did for me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jose. This was amazing. And Althea, Christian, thank you all for showing up.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you guys a
course.
lot.
Okay.
Alrighty. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye.